Hello and welcome to this video, and again it's me, Charles, and we're continuing on the financial model that we were building. Remember, we were building a financial model that has to do with a commercial construction building project. It was a real estate development project, and one in which it is a build to own, and so there will be tenants there, and we're looking at a period of 48 months, of which 12 months is the construction period. And in the previous video, we had constructed the model for construction period and construction cost. And here is it. We had the timing, the construction period. We had some flags already here, and then we also have some in the construction cost that we built. So right now we want to look at funding. So we want to look at how is the funding going to be. So here I'm just going to copy this, bring it here, and we just have construction funding. Okay. So in construction funding, we actually are interested because if you realize we are funding it using debt, and we're also funding it using equity. So this is the breakdown of it. So we have equity, we have debt, here that we need to use to fund it. So one of the things that we do, because almost often the equity is the first thing that we start using before we start using debt. So it's expected that the owners of the project should have committed something reasonable to the project, and then debt can come in to do more of the financing. All right, so we're going to build our model to be able to capture just that. So the first thing we're going to have the opening balance, and we're going to have the inflow of equity. So we're going to have equity funding, equity funding. We're going to have use of fund. We're going to have the use of fund, and then we're going to have a closing balance, and this is just going to be what it is. So I'm going to link to that's an external link. I'm going to link to my equity that is coming in from here, and actually I'm going to put it in here because everything here is going to carry the unit of money that we are using. Yeah, we're going to carry the unit of money that we're using, and so this is what's coming in for equity. So our closing balance is going to be like the sum of my opening balance, equity funding, use of fund, and then whatever is remaining would come just right in there. So let me just use this to just so that they come just like this. Okay, so an opening balance is also the same thing as the closing balance. So opening balance becomes closing balance, and it just runs like that. So we need to determine, how much fund are we using from this project. So what we're going to do is that we're going to find a kind of minimum and ask ourselves, what's the minimum of this opening balance and what we need, for funding for the first month. You get it? So we need to find out what that actually is. And so if we run this, we'll see that we have this coming in. And so what I'm going to do is it's the wrong place I'm doing that. So that's going to be for the use of fund. So I'm going to find the minimum of this value, this value, and this value. see what that gives us. Yeah, so that's, it gives us that value going forward. So what I'm going to do is that, remember, I need a closing balance. I've already had that here. I'm going to just bring this as my closing balance. Sorry, for this one, I need to have minus here because we use as form. So it goes out. And if I pull this here, what I'm going to have is this. So what we're just going to do is that we're just going to come here, take all of this and down to the end and just, you know, take it all this way. Okay, so let me explain what I have done here again. So we're going to just come here and then pick a color that I believe would be able to, so let's just use shade of blue. Let's use something black. Okay, and make this one bold. All right, so that would indicate totals for us. All right, so what has happened here is that we agreed that we had equity funding coming in, and equity funding is going to be the first thing that we want to use before we start using debt finance. And that has a strategic impact because we're not going to be paying interest for this equity funding that we're using. And also it tells the bank or wherever you want to get your debt that you're committed to whatever you're doing. So what has happened is that we had this at the beginning. We took out 6, which is what we required in the first month. We had a balance of 4. That balance of 4 became an opening balance here. And so how much can we really pull out from our equity? We can only pull out 400. So that is what this is doing. It's looking at what is remaining and what is the minimum of these two. So I can only use what is remaining. I can't use as much as this. So that is what it is going for. So just imagine if I've done this to be something like 5. So making it 1.5 and the other is 1.5. So you can see now that it has gone quite farther. You see, I'm able to, you know, use equity funding to carry out all of this, you know, this, and this, and I'm able to carry out this, and nothing is remaining as a balance going forward. You know, so you might just want to have the closing, link it here to the closing month and lock the column. So lock the row rather, because the rows are numbers, as I always say, and so you just lock this one, and there you are. Likely we should make it bold and just run it down so that it helps us identify the periods. You get it? So let's do this one like this. All right, so this is how we build the debt. So what we just come here and say equity funding. So that's equity funding. So what will be because we have just looked at equity funding. I need to return this to what it is. So we just looked at equity funding. So we need to ask ourselves what will be the debt funding. What would the debt funding look like? So what we're going to do is we're going to have something similar to this, but might just be a little different in how we go about to structure it. So here we're going to have this to be debt funding. So this is going to be debt funding. Okay, so we have this to be debt funding, and how do we use the debt funding and so on. So remember that in the case of this is where the magic of this is happening. Use of fund. It's saying give me the minimum of this and whatever is remaining for me to use. So that's how it gave us all of this. Now for this other one, what we're going to do is slightly different. So the opening balance remains the same, and the equity funding, I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to use this one now. So we're going to use the use of fund. Let me just clear up all of this. We don't need this one. I need the opening balance. Good. So I'm going to use this to derive what we're going to be using. Okay. So that is what we are actually going to do. So we're going to come here and say that we want the sum of whatever is here and whatever was used in equity. So you see, if I do this, you see that I have nothing here. What does that state? It states that I do not need debt. I do not need debt. So if you go further, you're going to see that, let's just make this one wider. Okay, good. So you're going to see here that what has happened is that at the point where you do not need, where you can no longer fund with equity, so you see we needed 450, equity only had 400 and provided 400, and the balance of 50 is provided here. And continuously we keep seeing it up to the last month of the construction period where we have this. So at the end of the day, you can now see that, okay, we've gotten to what debt would be of 2 million, and then that remains. As long as you're not paying down, that is what is going to remain. That's going to be your equity funding and so on like that right here. You get it? If at all you're going to be paying down your debt, it's going to have, so this is use of fund. This is where you, this is where we are. This is what we would be borrowing from the bank if we want to do anything about borrowing from the bank. You get it? And then we'll have where we'll pay for the bank, pay it down and so on. So this can be used of fund. We can also call it draw down. I think we should use that. Let's use that for drawdown. So to say that we drew this down, and we can always have a schedule for pay down. Anyway, we would make that decision when we get there if it's something you actually need. But this is our construction funding that is right here. So just imagine if this becomes this like this. So you can see now that your drawdown has shifted. It waited until we've taken everything about equity, and whatever balance there was, you can see that we needed 240 here, but we could only provide 90, and then the remaining balance came from debt, and that sorts all of that up. Okay, so we already know that we'll be paying interest of 6%. Okay, so can we do the interest? Yes, we can. So interest for debt. I think we can do something for that. Interest. So the interest for debt is going to be something like this. So we know the interest rate. We know the interest rates. So our interest rate is in percentage. I think I've done that before, so I'm going to just take that, put it in here, that's a percentage, and all our inputs are going to come in this column. So I'm going to just come here and pick this as my interest rate for the funding. Let's always good to put it like this because it could go any of that way. So now, normally in modeling, we try to show that whatever we have coming from another sheet is more like an external reference and so on like that. And we try to use a color to indicate that it's an external reference. So I'm going to just use green for everything that is external reference. So you know that it's coming from an external source, like this. I just hope that color is ideal for us to use, and I think we're good with that. That might be a little too. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that and use that to indicate that we're linking from somewhere external. And for some persons, they prefer, they don't like these grid lines. They just come So you can now come to your view tab and take out the grid lines, and it looks something like this. Okay, so it will just look something like this. I don't know if you like it this way. I like it this way, but whichever way you want it, you know where to bring it in or take it out, right? So let's work with it without the grid lines. I think we'll be able to see and understand what's going on. Okay, so we have the interest rate here. Let that wait for us. And what is there is that we're paying interest on what's it called? These balances that we would be having. We're going to be paying interest on them. And so all we need to do is to find out what is the interest we will pay for each of this. So actually, we will need something like what we did up here. We'll need an opening balance, and I'm going to tell you why we need it. We need interest additions. So when you do project finance models, you almost often would need something like this. So interest additions, you have interest pay down. That's your paying down. And then you have a closing balance. All right, so don't mind my capitalization and so on. See then, but it's something to do with my keyboard. And so I'm going to just come here, and we're going to have, because they are all going to be in dollars. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to have an opening balance. Opening balance is 0 because we're not owing anything for now. So I'm going to just reference this. And then interest additions would be what we are paying. So what you need to know is that this is annual interest. This is annual interest. So if you're doing it for the month, it's going to be this amount divided by 12 months that are in what is it? That in a year. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And I'm just going to bring that out like this. Now, for some individuals, they might feel that, oh no, this is not the best way to model, and you should bring this somewhere down here and calculate it separate and call this one so this is going to be annual interest rate, annual. And it's okay because you spell things out so that this is a monthly interest rate, so which is also in percentage. Okay, so we know how we derive this F2, so we're taking that and we're dividing it by that. Now you're going to have a problem if you copy this down here. Like you can see, I'm having zeros here. That's simply because when we reference this, we did not lock it to the column. So I'm going to lock it to that column F. The lock is to say stay in column F irrespective if I go to my right hand side. So that's what I do here. So I'm just going to select everything and like this and go. So that's what it is, 0.5 for each of the months. So now I can get my interest addition. My interest addition, I'm going to just make it simple that it is there. So you can use any of the methods to get it, but we're just assuming that if we had drawn down this in this month, remember the projects require that at the start of the month we have the money in our hands to use for our construction work. So we've used it for that month and we need to pay interest on it at the end of that month. So what that simply means is that I can now time my interest rates, multiply it by whatever this is, and I can get what the addition to interest are. For now, we've not done any model to look at what we are paying down. So, but we know that our pay down is going to be a negative and it's going to reduce it. So the sum of everything from opening down to pay down becomes our closing. So I'm going to just take this one and all of this, and like that. So if you follow the my previous videos, you're likely going to see when I was introducing some of the keyboard shortcuts that were used for this. So what I actually do is, after modeling these, I just hold down my control button and my shift button, and sorry. So let's do it like this. So let me tell you what I did there. So what I did was come here and here, Control Shift arrow, your right arrow key selects everything down to the end, then Control arrow copies to your right hand side. So when I say Control arrow, I mean Control letter arrow, Control letter arrow copies down to my right hand side. So what this is stating is that, assuming I am not paying my loans, I'm not paying back the principal at all, this is going to be what will be my interest going forward. Assuming, say, oh, you can pay interest, but hey, you don't need to pay back the loan or something like that, you know. So this is going to be my interest at full loan, you know, at full loan. This is going to be the interest I pay every month. But when I pay down, assuming later we get to see, okay, what are we going to be paying down? You get it? And when are we going to be paying down? Then you're going to see that much of this is going to, you know, much of this is going to be reducing as we continue going forward. Okay. All right. So, okay, I didn't change this. I thought let's leave it at what it is before. Our scenarios will help us to determine what could be much later. So you see, reducing it to, increasing it to 2 million. You can see what this has come out, what it has come out to be. All right. So let's see what is next. So that's my opening balance. These are my additions. Now, what is happening here, and that's going to change later, is that I'm not paying interests yet. All of this indicates that I'm not paying interest yet. You get it? So let's come here, make this way, and let's just don't know, you might have some. So let's leave it like this, and so you can see that pay down is not going on at all. You get it? Pay down is not going on at all here. Now, in project finance, the construction period is always periods where you are not paying down your interest, but beyond your construction period, you're expected to be paying down your interest. You get it? So here we can now use what we had previously. Remember that we had a flag, you know, we had a pay down flag. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just come here and put interest pay down flag, and that's going to be a flag. Yeah, you get it. That's going to be a flag. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be a flag. So what I just need to do is reference that interest pay flag. Now, the thing about the interest pay flag, because if we go to our flags here, we are not expected to pay interest for the construction period. The reason is that we are capitalizing the interest. You get it? We're capitalizing. So during the operations period, we can start paying our interest. You get it? So I'm just going to just come here to our operation period, and then I'm going to just have this here. So what this means is that I can't pay interest here because I'm still constructing, I'm still building, but I'm expected to start paying interest at this point. So I have to start paying interest at this point. And so what's my total interest? So this is the total interest that is down, waiting to be paid. You get it? So this one added to it to give us whatever we had right here. Okay. All right, so the same thing here. Okay, so now that we have these ones here, we're going to try to say, okay, this is when you're going to be paying down, because when we're paying down, we're going to link it to interest. So we're going to say that now that in here, pay down is going to be a minus. So we're going to say minus, and we're going to pick this, multiply it by what we're supposed to pay at any particular point. So we're going to link it to the opening. So that opening is what we are supposed to pay at any point in time. So you can see it's 0 for all the months that we have, we are constructing. But the moment we come to this point, you will see that it requires us to pay this as interest. Okay, so we have to find we are paying this as interest for the period. So we're going to just come and run this down. So you can see now that when we start paying down, we don't get that very huge amount of stuff. So it has come to just 10,000, which is the amount we should be paying, given the amount that we have here. So when we start paying it, definitely we will have less to pay month on month. Okay, so that takes care of that particular one. But the this 65,000 that we didn't pay, that was accumulated here, we ought to have it as capitalized. So every month that you could not pay it, it becomes a loan of its own. You get it? It becomes a loan of its own. And that is why we are required to do some capitalization. We are required to do some capitalization here. All right. So, but for now, we'll leave that for the next video. Let's just have that bite size. So we've been able to get into construction funding, and we've been able to do our equity, debt, and interest payment. So in the next video, we'll be looking at how do we build the capitalization model and the interest on capital. So if you are capitalizing interest, becomes interest on interest, we need to be able to get to know how much we're going to pay for all of that interest up till the close of our construction period. And then we could start, doing whatever we are doing. Okay, so that is what it looks like. Now I'll be seeing you in the next video.